And welcome, we are back. We are live once again. And for those of you that have been tuning into this podcast or perhaps watching via video on Facebook or YouTube, I have been interviewing amazing people that I know. Now, this lady that I am about to interview and introduce you to all is also very amazing. Her name is Susan Hunt, and we're going to get to know her a little bit later on what she does. But I just wanted to say hi. Hi, Susan. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm just really excited to be here.
Now, that accent is a little bit different to mine. Whereabouts in the world are you based, Susan?
I'm based in the United States, and I live in Kentucky. I've lived in Kentucky my whole life, and it is kind of funny that you ask about my the way that I talk. Is that when I went to program, it wasn't so much that people didn't understand what I was saying; they just didn't know where the accent came from. And so, because I'm from Kentucky, I talk like everybody else here. So, yeah.
Well, I am very blessed because some of you that know me know that Kentucky is basically my second home. So I get to visit pre-COVID a lot of times of the year. And I would say it's probably one of the most, friendly places that I have been. Everybody always makes me feel so welcome whenever I come there. I just love it. I just love the people. I really always feel like I'm part of the family.
And that's true. There was just a survey that came out, and Kentucky is one of the kindest states. And I always thought that, I always thought we were pretty special. And for you, the first time that I ever saw a picture of you in Kentucky, you were getting a key to the city from the mayor and of Louisville. And it's like, well, that's pretty cool.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
yeah.
Yeah. I have that pride of place in my home. It was just one of the most magical, amazing moments of my life. And I was just like, oh my goodness, the whole city and all of the people have just welcomed me so much with, all of the different things. And I've been so lucky to be part of, the fundraising efforts that I know Michelle and David James do. They've always included me in that. And
Yeah.
just amazing people, amazing community. So
Yeah.
I feel very blessed. I feel very.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Okay, now Susan, to you, because you are, to me, one of those people that inspires me daily. Now, let me explain why to those people out there, because Susan, Susan and I have met through the Modern Mystery School, and Susan is, she's an initiate of the Modern Mystery School. And her attitude to life and her giving is just so inspiring. I often look at you and think, my goodness, when I grow up, I want to be like you. And you always say that to me, don't you?
Yes, I do. I do. Yeah.
But it's true. I always thought that. I was, oh my God, I want to be like you when I grow up. So, Susan, first of all, tell me about your background, because we know you grew up in Kentucky, but tell us about where you went to school. What did you do your degree in, and why? What were those driving points?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that is probably important to tell you about my background is I come from a very strong Irish Catholic family, and what that means is that I have five siblings that are older than me, and I have five siblings that are younger than me. So that's 11 children. And so it wasn't until later in life that I thought about my placement um, in our family where we were. And I would always tell them that I was the most well adjusted. But you can't talk to Irish people like that. I mean, they will just take you on. I mean, so I went all the way through grade school, and I went to high school. I went to an all girls Catholic high school, and then shortly after that, I married, and I had my two children, and I went to college, and I got a degree in social work. And this is the honest truth. When I went in, I never did like school, never liked anything about it, but it was impressed upon me that it might not be a bad idea for me to do something like that. And so what happened was I just went, and said, so what career doesn't work on weekends? And thus I became a social worker. And we do work on weekends when we have to, yes. And so, I worked in the community. I worked, in inner city, and then I moved on to the hospital and I worked there. And then after that, I went to home health, and home health is more, it's pretty cool because you go into people's homes and you interact with them, and it's a lot different than being in a hospital, a whole lot different. And so then when I left there, what happened was I had always been a card reader. I've been addicted to cards my whole life. And so I was a reader, and so I would always read, here in our community when we would have fair. Well, the guy that we did the fair, he just came and said to me one day, he said, Susan, I'm not doing this anymore. And I go, what about me? And, so much for what about me? So what happened was I was in my kitchen one day and I just said, God, when is someone going to come and start these fairs up? And God said, well, why can't you do it? And I was like, me? And it never entered my mind that I would be able to do something of this caliber. And so what happened was, when you get the go ahead from God, it's pretty sure that something magnificent is going to happen. And so God and I had talks about what it was that I wanted and how I wanted it to be different than any that I've ever done before. And I got my wish. I just did. The very first one we ever had, it was full of readers and vendors in that room, and only one person had ever done a holistic fair, and that was me. All of these people were brand new, and it was just really neat. It was just fun. It just was. Yes.
So this is interesting. So Susan, so you have obviously dedicated your life to helping people, through social work. And I know you joke, but I would say social work is probably one of the hardest areas, that we can work in. And a lot of social workers don't get the thanks that they perhaps deserve, because it's thankless at times. I know you have to do a lot of, see a lot of things that perhaps other people never have to see and what have you. So
Yes.
I know you joke about it not working on weekends, but I know you'll be working every moment of the day, every moment
True.
of the day. Yeah.
True.
So you've had this successful career helping people, and then obviously your passion, which is the holistic modalities and reading and crystals and all these different types of things have played in your life. And this is, would you say it was fair to say that was something, that was your hobby, throughout that time,
Oh,
to help with your mental health? I mean, how did it integrate?
yes, yes. As I said, I went to college only because of pressure. I went to grade school only because of pressure. Because even in grade school, when I went to the first grade, and I went in and I sat down and I looked up at the chalkboard and said, "What's that?" And Sister Mary, said, "Oh, that's the alphabet." And I knew that it would not. This setting in this classroom was just not for me, because it would interfere with my true goal of I wanted to be a cowgirl. And yeah, who knew? And so I just went home and I just said, I'm never going back again, just never. So when I started, particularly with the Modern Mystery School, when I started with that, it was an online course that was was being taught by Teresa, who became, oh my gosh, I just absolutely loved her. And when I was finished with the course, I emailed her and said, now what do I do? And she said, oh, now you have to have life activation. And so it just so happens that there are two people here in Kentucky that do life activation, and both of them happen to be my friends. And so when I called Angela and said, hey, can you do life activation for me? And she said, I cannot believe this. I've talked to you for 2 years about doing life activation, and now you want to do life activation. And so it was just it was so neat, and I just loved everything about it. And that truly did become my passion. And going through, the different classes with you, and then, going to Toronto to Healers Academy, it was like, where has this been my whole life? Why couldn't this show up in front of my first day in grade school instead of the alphabet?
This is funny, Susan, because we were talking about this earlier, and I just want to, because I know you, and so I know your story, and it's amazing. You've always, and you're very proficient reader. You have experienced a lot of modalities, but yet you always came to classes and to sessions with such humbleness and always ready to receive, as though you hadn't received anything before. It was always like this. And that's what really, struck me about you, is that you always receive so much because you are always ready to learn and be completely open and say, okay, well, okay, I'm here. So now, now I want to receive as much as I can. So therefore I have to come with this no judgment. There's no already preconceived idea of what's happening. And that really struck me about you and your approach to life and to people,
Yeah, and that's true. When I went into empower thyself, and it was like, oh, I wonder what this is going to be like, but then once my instructor started talking, I was captivated. I was just, it was like, this was it was one of those things that was really, really new to me, but I always knew it anyway. And so that was kind of the magic of it is, and I know that you talk about magic all the time, and that's a buzzword now because of you in Kentucky, as we all talk about the magic. And so it's, so to come in, and I was just in Minnesota, and it was just, I just loved it, absolutely loved it. And just, I just wanted to be quiet and listen to what it was that the instructor was saying. And lucky for me, I don't take notes. And the reason I don't take notes is that, I'm not a very good speller, so I wouldn't be able to read it when I go back, so it's like, so I listen, and that's how I come to be humble and quiet, because I'm captivated by what it is that you're saying.
And also, Susan, so then, what also struck me is that when I met you, you had this successful career, caring for others through social work. You brought up a family. You had, this community around you, and you had this love and passion for, the holistic sciences, the hidden sciences, magic, whatever terminology you want to call it. And you decided that because the local fair, holistic fair, was going to be closed down, you decided that instead of letting it be closed down, that you would step in and take over it. Correct. Now, here's the thing. Now, in life, I want to just, share this with everybody. I wonder what the world would look like if everybody did what you did, and instead of, just taking responsibility and saying, well, hang on a minute, I'll take over. I'll do this now. I'll share this with other people. So tell us, because you had no experience whatsoever of running a holistic fair, and it's quite a big fair, wasn't it, that you were taking over?
Oh, yeah, yeah. And and taking it over, ignorance is bliss, comes to mind when I think about it, because the person that did it, that took over, or that I took over, I had him to come to my house, and he sat at my kitchen table, and he spoon fed me everything. He told me exactly what it was that I needed to do. And we went through everything, and I needed to get an LLC from an attorney. And so he suggested I go to his attorney. So I went to his attorney and told him what I needed. And the attorney knew who I was. He had been to the event before, but we'd never been introduced, but he knew who I was. And so what happened was, he told me, he said, this is going to cost you like $1,000. And I go, I got it, and I didn't have it, but I knew it would show up somewhere. And so what happened was, he called me on the phone and said, your LLC is here. You are the official owner of Quantum Bliss. And so I went right to his office. But when I went, I took my checkbook, I took credit cards, whatever. And it was kind of neat, because, when we were finished, when I'd signed all the papers, and I said, now I need to pay my debt to you of $1,000. And he said, I thought you would read my cards for me. And I went, I am going to read your cards for you, And so it was like, there that was $1,000, and it was like, that's probably the most, and I'll just tell you, I think that really is the most expensive reading I've ever done. But yeah.
You see, that's how it works, isn't it? When you're prepared to have faith and just go for it. And this is a key in magic that we teach in Hermetic magic, is that when you just decide, okay, I'm going to do something, I am God, I am divine, I will make this happen, and we do it, rather than waiting or trying to save or trying to do, the other way. We're always coming from that lack of, whereas, you just did it.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to have this covered. I'm going to get it sorted. And look at that. That divine, just stepped in and paid the $1,000 for your reading. And I'm sure it was worth every single penny, by the way.
Well, yes, I am pretty good, I'll just tell you. But, another thing too is that in setting up the fair, one of the things that I do require is, if you're going to be a reader at the event, you have to read for me. Mm-hmm. And so I love that. And what I like about it is, that's a win-win situation, because if you read for me, then you already know who I am. And so that was neat. But there was this one woman that came, and she said, Susan, how do you get away with this? Because you are in an area of Kentucky that's, pretty conservative. And I said, well, I've been here long enough, and I've been through, I've been through inner city, I've been through the hospital, I've probably even been in your home, And I said, and so, when people say, oh, Susan's doing it, and it's like, well, you know how she is, just leave her alone.
This is a very good point that you bring up, because, when I first visited Kentucky, obviously, it's not, so it has its own way of doing things.
Yes.
I lived in the Middle East for, 5 years, and they have their own way of doing things. And there's certain things you can share, and there's certain things you can't share openly. And this is what amazed me about you as well, Susan. So you have been at the forefront of this, working with the angelic realm, talking about the divine, all these different things, for many, many, many years in a sense that is quite strict.
Yes, it is. But one of the neat things is that at the holistic fair, one of the things that I do is I do like platform, and platform is that all the people come in and they sit down, and then I talk to spirit, and I talk to your spirit if your spirit happens to come up, and it's kind of neat because when I do that, it's a packed room. I mean, it just is, and I feel like a pop star when people come up and go, "Oh, how you do that?" And they go, "Oh, I just look," and there they are.
So, Susan, right, what else I wanted to talk about with you, because I know we're kind of running out of time a little bit, and I wanted to cover this, and I hope, I know you're not going to be offended when I say this, but you are a mature woman. So you have had life experience. And what amazed me is that when I met you, you were not, you were in good health, but you were having some physical health issues. And so here's a woman who is, later on in life, she could be very comfortable doing, sitting in her chair and having her grandkids around her, or whatever it is. She could be doing all that thing. But no, here she is opening a fair, taking over a fair, big holistic fair. She has these, physical challenges which she has to overcome. And she battles through that every single day, and she pushes forward, and she is always the first to be there and say, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to be there. And I just wondered if you could talk a little bit about that, because I feel like sometimes women, they get a sense of, when they've had their children and they're grown up, then there's, life is over or something, or we haven't got much time.
Yeah. And I think that I've always been looking for something. And one of the neat things is that, and I had to go back to them and realize that, when I stepped in and said, yeah, this is what I want to be when I grow up, I didn't know what I was saying. I had no idea that, because it has everything to do with me, and it has everything to do with my perception, and it has everything to do with my approach to, whatever it is that I think will work is, and I think that it's kind of neat because I have a daughter and I have a granddaughter. Well, actually, I have 7 of them, but that there's a picture in my home that is of the 3 of us, and we are maiden, mother, and crone. And so the crone, I that wasn't a title that I was aspiring for, but I accepted it and said, okay, I can be the crone. And what is kind of neat is that I can share, my experiences, particularly with my granddaughter. And one of the things that she'll do is she'll go home and she'll say to her mother, my daughter, and she'll say, "You're not going to believe what she did." And Tracy will say, "Well, you remember I grew up with her, so yeah, I know the things that she does." So yeah.
Oh, I love it. It's so inspiring, because I remember when you were going to Healers Academy, so you were going to a different country. The 5 days for Healers Academy is a beautiful 5 days, but it can be intense because we are taking off the layers of the onion. We're doing deep healing. And you had been in hospital the week before, I think,
Yes.
2 days before, or something crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy. You're right. Yes. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you came. And I
Yeah.
remember saying to you, just take it easy, just, go slowly. And by the end of it, you looked like 10 years younger or something. I don't know what happened. It was just like you just pushed
Yeah.
through, and it was like this whole new lease of life came.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It really is kind of neat. Particularly with the medical compromises, and I never really looked real seriously at my family history, their health history, because it was like, well, I'm not going to be like that, I'm not going to be like that at all. And so I threw that gauntlet down a long time ago, but it obviously didn't really mean a whole lot. And I remember, going into to the emergency room, and I was in the you had on one of those gowns that they just tie you in the back, and there you are at their mercy, and there's three cardiologists, and they're like, you are in serious trouble, and if you don't get this done, you're not going to make it. And and I realized at that moment that it wasn't a real good time for me. I wasn't in a position to tell them, what it was really like, and how it would really happen. But then, I went home, and I was fine. I was okay. Yeah.
Definitely in the light. I just remember just thinking, my goodness, this is just, your faith and your ability to tap into your divinity is just phenomenal, because it I don't know what it regenerates, rejuvenates you. It's just amazing to see, and I think that's why so many people want to come to your fair and to see you work. And so, tell us, we're on the last few minutes now, but tell us, how can people come to the fair? Where is it? What's going on? What's happening?
The fair will be here in Northern Kentucky. It's at the Hilton in Florence, and it's August 7th and the 8th, and it's from 11 to 6 p.m. And so it's kind of neat because there's all kinds of vendors there. There's rocks, there's stones, there's people that make their own little fairy, they're just fairy freaks is what they really are. But yes, and of course there will be readers that are there. There's astrologists that are there, and so one of the neat things is that when you come in, you get a little brochure, and it'll tell you that we have speakers that are there, on the hour, that they talk about different things, and their experiences, and that's really neat too. And I've not had an opportunity to be able to go in and listen to the speakers. However, what's really neat is that people come out and they come looking for me to tell me about the speakers. And so I just love that. I just think that that's really neat, that, that they're that good. Because what I like is when people come in and they say, Susan, who's the best reader? And I have to tell them, and I say, hey, everyone in this room has read for me, and that's how they got in the room. So they're all good, So yes.
Oh my goodness. So, Susan, do people have to get tickets if they want to come, or can they just show up on the day?
They can show up on the day, and there will be there, they can come in. I think that they get a bracelet. Yeah, they get a bracelet that show, and it's $10 to come in. And it's a really neat day. And one of the neat things that have happened to me was one woman came up and she said, I love the energy that's in this room. And it was like, that's all I wanted. I wanted some cool energy, and she just verified it for me. So yeah, I like that. Yeah.
I'm putting down here in the chat box, 7th and 8th of August, and it's the Hilton.
Yes, in Florence.
How do we spell Florence? Is it F-O-L-R-E-N-C-E, as in
Florence?
Yeah,
Florence. Yes, you got it. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I'm just double checking. I've got that $10 Quantum Bliss ticket, 7th and 8th of August, Hilton, Florence. Please go down and see Susan. Be there. I know that you're going to have an amazing time there, and I'm sorry I can't be there.
Well,
I'll get there.
Yes, one of these days. Yes, we want you back in Kentucky. We really, really do. So,
oh my goodness, I definitely want to be there soon. And it's been amazing to chat to you. And I will hopefully see you very soon. I know we chat anyway, but of course, in person.
Yes. Yes.
I am sending you lots of love and good luck with the fair. I know it's going to be amazing. And we've had a comment here. Great interview. Love to you both. I think I know who that might be. And we will see you all soon. Take care, Susan.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.